Chapter 2, Guides on the Journey. What is the essence of that chapter, Dr. Gordon?
Well, for most of us, not everybody necessarily needs a guide, but most of us, when we're depressed, when we're down and pessimistic and feeling hopeless and helpless, it's enormously important to have somebody there with us who can help us take the next steps on our journey, help us look at what's going on, help us figure out what the different dimensions might be of our suffering at that time. So, and this is a very ancient notion. If you look at all the, if you look at the epics, for example, the Odyssey. I mean, Odysseus has Athena, the goddess of
Mhm,
wisdom. She's a very good guide. She's with him all the time. She's
mhm.
helping him feel better, look better, understand things that he can't grasp. But she's a kind of model for modern guides. We need somebody, most of us, I certainly did when I was going through a period of depression in medical school, and I found someone who I felt could understand me, who would respond to me, who respected me, who was kind, not indulgent particularly. He could be kind of tough and kind
Mm,
of humorous and getting me to understand the joke about myself as well. But he got who I was, and he was somebody I felt connected to. And I think this is so important that one of the problems with a lot of the therapists who serve as guides is that people go see them, but they may not feel it's really the appropriate person. You need somebody who's got good credentials, who knows how to be a guide to people who are depressed, who's a psychotherapist or a nurse practitioner in psychiatry or a pastoral counselor or a psychologist, psychiatrist. You need somebody with the training, but you also need somebody who you feel treats you with what the great psychologist Carl Rogers called unconditional positive regard. Such a beautiful phrase.
wow, that is
And
beautiful.
that's what I would suggest that you look for when you're finding a guide. Guides can have all kinds of different theoretical perspectives. But for the professional guide, I mean, they can be more involved in behavior therapy or more involved in using guided imagery or psychodynamic, sort of more on the Freudian side. All of those can be helpful, but you need somebody who's going to treat you with kind of loving respect. But the other thing, of course, is that guides don't only come in the person of professionals, that our friends can be very helpful to us as well. Not the friend who is thinks there's something so wrong with us that she's got to fix us and tell us exactly how to do it. But the friend who is really there, who is really present for us, willing to listen to us, willing to share her own experience, of course, but who we feel is there with us no matter what and doesn't have any particular axe to grind. You've got to do X therapy or you've got to see my therapist. It's worth looking at those things, but then it's up to each of us to make the decision. Is this the right way for me to go? So friends, family can help as guides. Professional guide can be very important. And the other part of guidance that's really crucial that I talk about and show people how to do in that chapter on guides is how to access the inner guide, the wise guide inside us, our imagination, our intuition, call it what you want, call it the unconscious. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, called it the collective unconscious. People in some societies think of it as spirits that are
Mhm.
outside rather than inside. You can think of it however you want, but if you do the kind of exercise that I describe in Unstuck, where you relax and you breathe deeply and you go into a relaxed state and you imagine yourself in a calm, safe place, and then you invite a guide to appear, you can begin to have a guide with that, a dialogue with that guide. And the guide who appears, as I describe in some detail. And also, people can look on our website, cmbm.org, for some of these experiments, as I call them, some of these experiences that are therapeutic that you can use for yourself. And you can find out more information about them on the website as well as in Unstuck. But these are these are devices, experiments to help each of us get in touch with our inner guide.
Mm,
And once that inner guide appears, who may appear as a wise old man or wise old woman or a figure from scripture or a family member, you can begin to ask that guide questions. I mean, why am I so depressed? What should I do about it? How do I deal with my husband? Whatever the questions are. This is a way of beginning to exercise those muscles of intuition and imagination that unfortunately in our modern society have atrophied for so many of us. We're not used to consulting
so
ourselves
true.
inside. We just want to look to the outside expert and the
So
quick fix.
so
And
true.
so the message of this chapter is yes, outside guides are fantastic. And we all need to develop that internal capacity to use our intuition and our imagination.
How frequently should we be contacting our guides, whether physical or spiritual, when we're feeling sad and depressed? Is this something you recommend doing daily, weekly? What's the frequency, Dr. Gordon?
As often as you need it.
Okay.
And so, what I recommend for people as we sort of look at the whole program is doing some kind of quiet meditation every day, maybe
Mm-hmm.
just breathing deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth with your belly soft and relaxed,
Mm,
focusing on the words soft and belly, focusing on the breath, focusing on the feeling in your belly. Doing that for 5 or 10 minutes. And again, there's a video of that on the cmbm.org website. You can follow that video. Doing that, doing something active every day
mm-hmm.
to release stress, release tension, to build up energy, to build up those neurotransmitters, the very same ones the drugs are aimed at increasing, like serotonin and norepinephrine. And then consulting your imagination. Uh, and I'm being a little vague. I say whenever you need to. So sometimes it may be every day. Sometimes it may be once every week, once every couple of weeks. I do it now. I'm not feeling depressed, but I do it when I come up against a problem that that doesn't the answer doesn't come to me immediately. What should I do about this relationship? How do I address a problem in my writing? I'm working on a new book. How do I address the problem in this chapter? Uh, what does this physical symptom that I'm having mean to me? So whenever something comes up that feels important to know more about, and the answer is not coming to you right away,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I consult my wise guide. And if my wise guide is not interested in talking to me about it, she'll tell me. She'll say, "Hey, buddy, don't bother me." Right? Truly, do
Figure it
something
out
else.
yourself.
Yeah. So it's a process, and there are many other techniques for accessing the imagination, which I describe in Unstuck. But the Wise Guide is a very beautiful, very direct one, and it works so well. I've seen it work so well for so many people.
Beautiful.